everyone, I'm Dan Salzer, Plymouth State Athletics, and in this week's Coach's Corner, I'm joined by women's lacrosse head coach Sandy Bridgeman. Coach, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Your third season now as head coach here at Plymouth State. You're two-time defending Little East Conference champions. You've been to the NCAA tournament the last 2 years. What have you enjoyed most so far with the success of this program under your tenureship that you've enjoyed here at Plymouth State?
I think probably some of the things I enjoy the most are about coaching, and it's taking a team, taking a group at the beginning of a season, the beginning of a year, and being able to develop and hopefully get them to reach their potential and beyond. And I think every season is different, and so for the past 2 seasons that's culminated with a championship and going to the NCAA tournament has been awesome. But every team, every season is different, and it's putting that together, trying to figure out your strengths and how to motivate and all of those things coming together. I find that the challenge or the fun part of it, as well as just the daily interaction. You see these kids, you appreciate what they do in the classroom, what they give you on the field, and a part of that, and to as a coach to be a part of their day-to-day, as well as we're building something. That's what I find rewarding about coaching, and particularly here, the students that I have here at Plymouth State.
Looking at things, if you just look at your schedule right now, it would seem like a disappointment, 1-3 overall at the moment, but you face some really tough and a couple of nationally ranked opponents so far here in the first month of the year. How has that kind of set up 2019 for you? Has it kind of been helpful having that experience against, a number 5 team in Salisbury a couple of weeks ago? You had Babson at the beginning of the year as well. How has that really developed this team, or maybe even hurt this team at the start of the season?
I think it's all positive. I'm a big fan of playing competitive games, particularly non-conference, that is going to help us in that, again, our quest to be in the final for the Little East Conference. So while it's been top competition, I think being exposed to that, and when we went to Salisbury, they were number 5 in the country. It is big time lacrosse, and their stadium and the jumbotron, and it's things that you see or experience when you go to the NCAA tournament. And so I think the more we expose the kids to that and have the opportunity that some of these teams are calling us to play, I think it's great for the program. And while maybe the results or the final score may not show all of the things that we take out of the game, and where I think that is going to help us and build throughout the season, getting to where we want to be. So I don't have I love the schedule that we have. I think it's impressive. If I was a recruit seeing that, those are the teams you want to play out of conference, and a mixture, and it is about building each team being different. So trying to build your schedule that's going to help you be at the end where you want to be, but it's certainly all about the conference. So I think those opportunities to play top level competition is what I want our kids to embrace.
Looking at things, your team lost 8 quality seniors last year to graduation, voids in offense, defense, and in goal. Who has really stepped up so far here in 2019 from maybe the returners or the freshman class coming in that's really impressed you, or really has it been a total team effort?
A little of both. I would say it's obviously a new team, new group, with carryovers, and people have stepped up. Veronica Daniels really taking charge scoring-wise, embracing that role for us. Kimmy Zaccaro in the midfield, continuing a great season that she had last year, and other players along with that. We do have an influx of some new players that are contributing. Megan Allard is a transfer goalkeeper, has started every game for us, as well as Emily Wargo coming in and contributing there. So I look at it as a balance, but it's certainly more of a couple of our upperclassmen returners that have kind of stepped up. Although, again, it was a great senior class last year, and particularly high scoring element for us as far as graduating. So we're still figuring it out, but I look at it both weighing on both some of the returners and some of the incoming players that we have that are filling that void. And I think and again, we're only 4 games into it, so I think it is getting figured out.
looking at things, it's been another kind of a long break between games for you, but looking back to last Tuesday, a quality win over Salem State at Salem State, a 16-0 victory, the program's first shutout in 17 years. Looking at that game, what are the biggest takeaways you have as you start moving into conference play this coming weekend?
I think certainly nice to get the W, that being first of all, but on top of that, as far as for everybody playing, contributing, connecting, and regardless of who our opponent is, we'll set goals, and whether it's within our kind of winning the hustle stats, and that's ground balls, draws, limiting our turnovers. I think, just like you said, having a shutout is really showing a focus and a consternation as far as we're really focusing on that, what you allow, and being stingy, and kind of our mindset as a team of how we want to play. So I think those things came to fruition within that game. And carrying that into the conference games, I think just, again, those elements of our style of play that equals success, being able to continue that and carry that over into the WestCon game coming up this weekend.
And we talk about WestCon, the conference opener in the Little East at WestCon tomorrow. And surprise so far, WestCon 6-1 overall. What has really stepped up in your eyes about that team? What are you kind of game planning for the Colonials? And how do you guys come away with a big victory to kind of start the second season this year in 2019?
Good question. I will say WestCon has been, I knew last year, I saw glimpses of it as far as for being young, but they were competitive and feeling like they were going to be a good team coming up, and that has come to fruition for them this season with their results so far. So there's going to be a couple key players that we want to make uncomfortable with some defensive pressure. I think there's also ways on our offensive side of it for us, composure-wise, of how we want to break down their defense. So a couple of different things, but I think ultimately it also goes back to what I just talked about with the Salem State game, as far as for knowing the areas that for us, whether draw controls, ground balls, limiting turnovers, those things add up to being successful. So staying on top of what makes us run, but also trying to take a couple of things that are their comfort to try to make it a little uncomfortable.
Well, Coach, as always, thank you for your time. I know it's going to be a couple of more weeks before you guys return home for your first unofficial home game. It's going to be now at New Hampton against UMass Dartmouth on Saturday the 13th. But until then, best of luck. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you. Great being here.